29th of November 2020. Do you know what that date means to me? That is the last day that I had an alcoholic drink. And on that night, I said goodbye to a friend. I said goodbye to somebody that supported me through a very, very long and difficult period of my life. I said goodbye to a friend that supported me during my acceptance of my childhood trauma, my acceptance of being a survivor of abuse and being a witness to domestic violence. I said goodbye to somebody that no matter what, was always there, and was there from quite an early age, about 16. So as you might notice, 29th of November, that must mean that it was recently my anniversary, or my soberversary as I've heard it being called. But do you want to hear something crazy? I completely forgot. I have an app that tells me all these different things, but I put the notifications on silent, and I knew the weeks coming up to it that it was coming up, but the actual day, I forgot. I couldn't believe I forgot. It wasn't until my wife said to me a few days afterwards how bad she felt for forgetting. But you know, she's got a lot on her mind. It's not her job to remember that sort of stuff. You know, she's incredibly supportive, but we both forgot. And at first, I was really hurt by this. I was gutted. I was like, oh my gosh, I was gonna make a big fuss. I was gonna do this, I was gonna do that. But then, as my wife tends to do, she put a really interesting perspective on it. She said, wow, how incredible that you've got to a point where you completely forgot about something that we both know is super important to me. And I smiled and I was like, you know what, you're right. That is amazing. That is fantastic. I changed my perspective on it. But the reason I'm making this video is because, right or wrong, I still carry a significant amount of shame around my addiction. So even now I have to take a deep breath before I say addiction, because I find it difficult to identify as an addict or as someone that's had addiction challenges. I know that's not right. I know that. I know that I shouldn't have any shame. I understand all of those things, but just as with everything in mental health, you can't control it. You feel the way you do, and there's nothing you can do about it. There's nothing you feel you can do about it. You know, it's not a thought process, it's a feeling. Telling someone to stop feeling shame is like telling someone to stop being depressed. You can't, or you feel like you can't. It's a feeling. Not calling myself an addict or saying I had an addiction issues, whatever it is challenging for me, as you can probably tell. So why am I making this video? Is because I want to talk about it. Well, it's a lie, actually. I don't want to talk about it, but that's exactly why I am. Because I've realized something recently, and that is that I've got so caught up in the idea of helping people that I've stopped talking about the things that make me feel vulnerable, the things that I find hard to talk about, the things that I really don't want to talk about. So that's why I've chosen to talk about it, because it's the thing I don't want to do the most. I really don't want to. So I'm going to, for that reason. I mean, and who knows, I might not even post this video, so let's see what happens. But there were 4 areas that really helped me understand that I had issues around addiction. The first one was obsession. I was absolutely obsessed with my addiction. I would choose it over other people, choose it over my children, choose it over my wife, or choose it over pretty much anything. I was obsessed. You know, sometimes we'd be out and about and my objective was directing the day around how I was gonna get an alcoholic drink. The reason I drank was because it helped suppress trauma. It made me feel nothing, which as somebody that's had trauma, you can understand there's a feeling that you have all the time. It doesn't go away. And when I drank alcohol, it did go away, or at least it suppressed it. So that's me trying to be compassionate to myself as I feel all these feelings inside. So I was obsessed with alcohol, obsessed with my addiction. Second thing I want to talk about is the compulsion I had. Honestly, it didn't feel like I had any control. that alcohol was controlling me. I was compelled. I say to myself so many times, I'm not going to drink today. And I'd be drinking. It's an addiction. Just like it is with other things like drugs or sex or food. It's an addiction. So I was obsessed. It was a compulsion. And the other thing is denial. Do you know how angry I used to get at anybody that would even suggest that I was drinking too much? I was in complete denial. I couldn't accept it. I'm not an addict, that's not who I am. Still having issues around that now, as you can tell. And then the last thing was the self-centeredness, like I alluded to, picking it over other people, important people, vital people, people I absolutely adore. Sometimes I would have work to do the next day and people were relying on me and I would drink the night before. It was almost a part of my self-sabotage in a way of like, you know, it was very challenging. I hate the fact that I'm admitting all this stuff on camera. I really, really do. But I want to help people. So I'm going to be vulnerable. And believe me, I am very, very vulnerable right now. So why do I tell you all this? Because there might be people out there that are suffering with addiction. They've got obsessions, compulsions. They're in denial about it and they're self-centered about it. All things that nobody wants to admit to, right? Nobody. And I don't mean to other people, I mean to yourself. You don't want to be that person. You can't accept that. But I want you to know I was in deep, real deep into my addiction. Years and years and years of practicing my addiction. 29th of November, 2020 was the last drink I had. If I can do it, so can you. I promise you, you can. The hardest thing about this entire process is making that decision. And I'm going to admit something else. On that night, my wife left me to go to bed. And I stayed up till 2 o'clock in the morning drinking alcohol. And do you know what happened? On my last drink, I cried. I cried. Because I knew what it meant. I knew that I was going to do this. And I cried like I was grieving, like someone had died. Because to me, that's what it felt like. If I can do this, so can you. I'm being vulnerable here on camera because I want you to understand that I understand. If I can do this, so can you. The hardest part is making that decision. The feeling that I've got from being alcohol free is freedom. Freedom to experience all my emotions, freedom to experience life good and bad, but freedom. I have myself back. And I'm discovering new things about myself all the time. I'm discovering new talents, new traits, new feelings. And it's amazing. It's hard, it's really hard, but it's amazing. If I can do this, so can you. I promise you, you can. Thanks for listening.